The Chicago Bears are bringing in former Pittsburgh Steeler Scotty Miller for a tryout. We're going to talk about what that means for the wide receiver room because it's getting real interesting. We also got to talk about some of the post-draft rankings for the Chicago Bears because they're sitting inside the top 10 despite some of the reactions from Bears fans. And I'm going to tell a lot of you Bears fans why you guys can't have it both ways in regards to praising Ben Johnson but trying to knock Ryan Poles for the draft results for the Chicago Bulls. We're going to talk about all that plus more right after this. What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. So the Chicago Bears will be hosting a tryout for Scott Miller, who's a former Pittsburgh Steeler and Buccaneer wide receiver who has speed. He is a veteran when it comes down to that. And this is just the Bears trying to solidify that wide receiver room a little bit more. Now, Scotty Miller has never been an eye-popping darling when it comes down to the stats in regards to that, right? But he is a guy that, can bring in some added dimension, I guess, and some depth to that wide receiver room. And that's really what this ends up being for me. This is a guy that's only had over 500 yards once. That was the second year in the league where he played 16 games, had 33 receptions and played, and had 501 yards for an average of 15 yards per reception. That was all the way back in 2020. Last year in Pittsburgh, he played 13 games. He only had 9 receptions, an average of 6.9 yards per reception. So nothing that really jumps out the stat sheet on you. And this isn't like a major move for the Chicago Bears or anything like that. It's just adding some depth to the wide receiver room. Keep in mind, the Chicago Bears wide receiver room is now primarily first, second, and third year guys, right? Like that's the way that you're looking at the Bears wide receiver room is outside of Khalif Raymond. So you really, want that veteran experience in there. I think that's really what this is. This could end up being a camp invite. He could not make the final 53-man roster. So it's not anything to look over too deeply in regards to that. But I do think overall, like the Bears have some confidence in their wide receiver room as they should, right? You look at all the young guys, like this is a very young wide receiver room. Rome Odunze, Luther Burden, Xavier Thomas are probably going to be your wide receivers 1 through 3, with Khalif Raymond maybe being ahead of Xavier Thomas in regards to that, maybe just because of the familiarity with the system, and he is a veteran. But even if you look at Jahade Walker, another young player, J.P. Richardson, another young player, like there's so much youth in this wide receiver room for the Chicago Bears that, this is and it's a good place to be in. I want to be clear, having a wide receiver room that is this young and this versatile with players that can be inside, outside, all the type of thing, the slot receiver in regards to that says a lot about, the confidence that Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson has in this wide receiver room. Of course, bringing in Khalif Raymond was bringing in a guy that was familiar, and you want to have a veteran of some shape, form, or fashion in that wide receiver room, and that's what Khalif Raymond's going to be. Scotty Miller can end up filling that role a little bit as well for the Chicago Bears. So overall, very young wide receiver room. I think the youth and the dynamics that are going to be in there, like I said, you have, Rome who's heading into year 3, you have Luther Burden heading into year 2, and you now have Xavier Thomas heading into year 1. J.P. Richardson and Jahade Walker heading into years 2 as well. So, a guy like Khalif Raymond, who's 31 years old, is really the veteran in that wide receiver room. So you add him and Scotty Miller to that, and you know what you have there, right? So, yeah, overall, I do think that the Bears is still going to have a very dynamic wide receiver room. And you need that. And the part of the reason why you need that is because with, the offensive line that we have, with the weaponry that we have there, all these guys are going to be used to varying degrees. And we talked about how, and Ben Johnson alluded to this as well with his words of saying we're going to coach up better this season. The thing that's going to create a lot of difference from the Bears from last year into this year is not only the changes that we've made in certain starting positions, but also is the scheme and how we free people up and feel more comfortable in that scheme than what they were last year. And that's what the Bears are really looking for here. And I don't think that that's a wrong place for the Bears to be at all, to be 100% honest with you. So it seems like the Bears are going about this the right way. They have a young, dynamic wide receiver room. And now the question becomes into the season is how much can they take it a step further? Because if Luther, Rome, and Xavier Thomas are your wide receivers 1 through 3, let's just say that is your wide receiver 1 through 3 for the next 4 or 5 years, you have a great platform to build off on. Yes, you're going to eventually have to pay those guys, but hopefully you're winning in a level that warrants paying them at the level that they need to keep them around. And that's just really what you're trying to do here overall. So we'll see what's going to happen with this Bears team, and we're heading into another step forward, and hopefully continuing the new era that the Bears have stepped into starting last year with the hiring of Ben Johnson and the success that we had as far as getting 11 wins. But now, can we win in a more clear fashion? Do we have to not come back from as much, right? These are all things that are going to happen. And the departure of DJ Moore plays a big role into this as well. I've said it. DJ Moore's stats may have not jumped out the stat sheet at you, but that was a guy that was always ready. Whenever you called his number, he was ready to go. He never really, stayed down. Even when he got hurt and banged up, he was always out there on the field or always available. And now you got those big shoes to fill. So let's see what the Bears do with that. But they're hosting Scotty Miller for a tryout. He has other tryouts with other teams as well. We'll see if he ends up becoming a Chicago Bear. With that said, let's move into the next topic, right? The Bears cracked the top 10 in a lot of post-draft power rankings, which is really good, right? And when you look at these post-draft power rankings, the thing that stands out is that they're still expecting a lot from Caleb Williams, and he's a big reason why it seems like there's a lot of faith that the Bears can be a top 10 team this year. Going into this, right, this was the quote from it. It said, definitely with the calculated approach in the draft this year, the Chicago Bears clearly wanted to address some key needs as they kicked things off with Dillon Thieneman from Oregon in round 1. Thieneman is a do-it-all safety who can come up near the line of scrimmage and run support and also hold his own on the back end of the defense. So it seems like things now with this post, you would have to have already been high on the Chicago Bears, right? Because it's not like the Bears, whereas last year we walked away and we knew that the Bears had one of the best draft classes, right? Like, of course, we wanted to see the proof on the football field, but there was that feeling from the moment that the Bears walked away from that draft that they had one of the deepest and one of the best draft classes in 2025 that was ready to contribute right away. And so now, with this draft class this year for the Chicago Bears, there's some reason for some questions around some of these players, make no mistake about it. But the Bears got a huge need in Thieneman, right? Like, Dillon and DT, what he's bringing to this team is something that you cannot overlook, and the dynamic that now you're going to have with him and Coby Bryant, and overall, the defensive backs, like Dennis Allen may finally have, if everybody stays healthy, which is a big, knock on wood for that one. If everybody stays healthy, you may very well have the defensive back and the versatility in schemes that really is going to open up Dennis Allen's system this year. Yes, we know the pass rush, and we're betting a lot on growth from Austin Booker. We're betting a lot on Montez Sweat to be able to, continue getting pressure in the 10 sacks that he had in the run and the support in the run game. And we're hoping from some internal development, whether it's Ruben Hippolyte, Javon Dexter taking another step, right? Things like that. We're hoping for that. But this is a team that I think right now is that you should feel better about the Chicago Bears and what they did in the draft. We'll talk a little bit about, I got to call some of you Bears fans out in regards to some of the things that's been said. And best believe I've been keeping receipts. I've been watching everything that you guys have been saying, so we'll see how it goes. But I think the thing that you have to remember is that this is a Bears team that's loaded with talent. And you have to continue to bring it together. And the thing that I said about the Bears draft class that I still hold true and I still hold on to is that the picks that the Bears made are very talented players. Like, people are, I have the capability of viewing it through two different lenses, right? You can say that the Bears didn't address their biggest need in pass rush, but then you can still independently look at these picks and what these picks have the chance of doing for the Chicago Bears and realize that the Bears got some talented players in this. And that's what it seemed like they prioritize is the value, right? Malik Muhammad is somebody that I think is going to come in. And I've said it on the last 2 episodes, so I'm not going to repeat it, but I think, I am going to repeat it because I'm just about to say it again. But he has the chance to become a starter for this team. I don't know if he's a day one starter, but best believe from rookie minicamp through training camp, through OTAs and everything, Malik Muhammad is going to be making an impression on this team, and he has a chance to steal that starting spot away from Tyreek Stevenson, a player that's largely been disappointing. And I think that's what you have to look at as well. Like when we talk about how important defensive backs are to Dennis Allen's scheme, you now have 2 potential shutdown corners in Jalen Johnson and Malik Muhammad. What both those guys do in man-to-man coverage is not something that is if Malik brings that over to the NFL the way that he brought it in college, that is not something that a lot of teams have. And then you have, Kyler Gordon and Zay Frazier, the versatile cornerbacks that can do a little bit of everything, run support, pass blitzing, all that type of stuff. Now you adding Coby Bryant and DT to that also, it's going to be a potentially Dennis Allen, like an eye-opening season for Dennis Allen and how he can scheme this thing up, right? And so that's really what it comes down to, right? And you look at the Chicago Bears and like the concerns that they have. Pass rush is really the biggest concern, and being able to stop the run game. I do think with the speed that we've added on the defensive side of the ball, especially with Devin Bush, once TJ Edwards is back healthy as well, we brought Jack Sanborn back. I think that we're going to be better in the run game than what we were before as far as stopping the run. But that pass rush is probably the biggest thing that we have in health, right? Like, of course, people still have questions on Jalen Johnson. I said it on yesterday's episode. So many Bears fans have so much doubt about Jalen when the numbers show it. Jalen Johnson has continued to be a shutdown corner. Now, last year, the numbers were down. And, Jalen Johnson even said himself on a podcast, like, he was getting pain injections and shots, just to be able to play in some of these games. So we never really saw fully healthy Jalen Johnson at any point last season. Now, that's not a huge excuse. What he did on the field was what he did on the field. But now with that offseason actually rest and allow that growing injury to actually heal, because we knew it was never going to fully heal as long as he was trying to play. That's why he stayed out as long as he was, but he needed to come back, right? So, now with that injury having a chance to fully heal, what do we look like? And I can't wait to see what this defense looks like, because the offense, we know we're stacked with talent on offense. You're bringing back DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai. No knocks there. You got an offensive line that, yes, lost Drew Dahlman, but we got the best center in the draft as well as our center of the future. We got Garrett Bradbury as a stopgap between there. The left tackle position is a bit of a question, too, with Braxton Jones and Theo Benedict and Aji Trapillo being out. But overall, like, this team is poised and ready to take that next step, it seems like, with still some limitations. And we'll see how they're going to go. But that gets me to my next topic that I want to talk about. And this is going to be the one where some people tune out and tune off, and that's perfectly fine. There are going to be some people that's saying, hey, this is Haize. He's about to go Petty Roosevelt again. That's perfectly fine. Y'all know I welcome all smoke. But some of y'all Bears fans got to stop your bitching. And by that, I mean this. Everything that goes well, you want to put on Ben Johnson, and everything that goes bad, you want to put on Ryan Poles. Not understanding, and this is where critical thinking and understanding how things actually work, and stop making sports soap operas like so many men do. It's a collaborative effort between the two. There's people so convinced that they're trying. There was somebody that left a comment on a video the other day, and they were like, well, it's in Ben Johnson's contract. He gets the last say in every draft pick. That is not in any coach's contract ever in the NFL. Like, and so that's the thing, like, it's so much stupidity going on and so much dumb shit that's narrative-based and not based in reality. And the simple fact is that Ben Johnson, who's echoed the same thing as Ryan Poles and the assistant GM and probably Dennis Allen all sat down, and this is the draft they decided to have. And like most front offices and most good GMs do, you work collaboratively with your coaching staff. You talk and you communicate with what your coaching staff needs, and then you go out there and get it done. It's a collaborative effort. The last say, does it go to Ryan Poles? Yeah. But I'm so tired of Bears fans wanting to give anytime something goes well, it's, let's glaze. Y'all is glazing right now. Like, some porn stars are going to be, embarrassed at the way that y'all glazing better than them for some shit that is very simple, and doesn't take that much brain power or thought process to think through. Some of y'all are just so wrapped up in wanting to believe in narrative and, again, making sports soap operas for men that y'all say some downright dumb and stupid shit, to be 100% honest with you. Ben Johnson came to this team, and one of the things that we heard is that Ben Johnson didn't want to go to this situation even before he took this job and had to worry about a GM change, right? So then act like it's not a collaborative nature between the two. They succeed and they fail together. I know a lot of y'all don't know how to work in actual teams, and that shows out in how you live your life and how your marriages go and your relationships go and how work goes for you. I don't understand the true nature of being collaborative, but that's what this is with this Bears team and this franchise. Y'all got to stop the glaze. Y'all got to stop trying to have a point and a talking point and rely so much on dumbass, easily disprovable narratives that just make you guys look like a fucking idiot. You got to stop doing that and actually live in the real world. The reality of it is that this is what the Bears wanted to do with their draft. This isn't a thing where you can separate and say, well, the good picks, that's Ben Johnson. The bad picks, that's Ryan Poles. Poles fails again. Ben Johnson needs to be making all the draft. All that stupid shit that anybody with a monochrome of actual common sense and how football teams operate would know that that's not what's going on here. It's silly, right? And I get it. I get being outraged. I get being confused about how day 2 of the draft went for the Chicago Bears. Completely understand it. We were live on the channel when that happened, and we were all sitting there too wondering, all right, like Danny Dennis Sutton was still on the board. Y'all passed him up. Like the things that happened there. But at the end of the day, like, this is what the Bears wanted to do. And while it started with pick number 7, right, where Ben Johnson took the first center in the draft with Logan Jones out of Iowa, many people had Jones pegged as a top 3 center prospect in this draft. Very few had him as the top option, and what it came down with it. So, overall, I'll say this. Yeah, the picking the tight end and all that type of stuff, like the Roush, and that's going to make, bring some questions about it. But, you can still, if you step back and try to look at this objectively, right? And I think that's the thing that I try my best to do in this seat is when I'm here, I try to step back and look at things objectively. If you step back and do that, right, you can see that the Bears are setting up for the future and the present now. Like the Roush move was set up so, if they need to get out that Cole Kmet contract, they can very well do that, right? And still feel very confident in being able to run the 12 personnel that we know that Ben Johnson likes to do. 13 personnel is going to be a thing this season as well, right? But it just comes down to stop glazing Ben Johnson to then blame Ryan Poles for the stuff that they are collaborating on. And Ben Johnson told it the company line as well. When he was asked about why the Bears did not go defensive lineman or edge in that draft, he talked about the fact that they're going to coach people up. He talked about the fact they believe in Montez Sweat and they believe in Austin Booker. That's not just words. That is a front office and coaching staff that picked a path and a direction together, and they believe in that path and direction and what's going to come out of that. Now, is it going to happen? Is it going to work? We'll see. No GM is perfect. I don't want to be clear on that. No GM ever has been perfect. Every GM has had misses. Every GM has had things where they've lacked on. Every single one of them has done that. That Ryan Poles is not beyond reproach in that regard. But it's not just you can glaze Ben Johnson and praise Ryan Poles and think you cooking by saying the stupid shit that some of y'all are saying. It just does not work, right? If you come and look back and look at the complete teardown that Poles had to do with Ryan Pace's roster, right? And now screaming that Ryan Poles is a bad GM, you're stupid. I'm sorry, I hate to say that, but objectively, you're pretty stupid. If you really look at that objectively and think that Ryan Poles is also some terrible GM, has he made bad moves and bad decisions? Absolutely. And we talked about those and we've called those out. But you can't want to just judge him by the bad that's happened and then the good things that have happened in the good drafts and the good situations that the Bears have had, and then try to give that all to Ben Johnson. You can't do that. They work hand in hand. And that is something that we've literally heard since Ben Johnson took this job, that they've worked hand in hand. It's very fucking simple, to be quite frank with a lot of y'all. So it is what it is. It's frustrating to see, again, a fan base try to create separation within itself, all because people want to be right about a take. And that's what it goes back to. I said about take culture. It goes back to that. And it's silly, it's stupid, and it's downright dumb in a lot of cases by what some of y'all are saying. Like I said, the guy was like, oh, it's in Ben Johnson's contract. He gets the final say in all draft picks. Fuck it, we're just making shit up from the ether in your brain. It's really stupid, right? And then there was the guy I remember that was like, oh well, it's clear Ben Johnson's the one making all these picks when stuff went right, and it's all that stuff is dumb, and it needs to stop. It's okay to be in reality, and guess what? Both coaches, GMs, presidents, everything. There are going to be some good decisions. There are going to be some bad ones, and that's just the reality of it. But with that said, right, I do want to talk about the impact that this rookie class could make in year one, right? We all know DT. Thieneman is going to be the most impactful rookie because he's the one that's guaranteed to start from day one. He is going to start from day one. And there's just no ifs, ands, or buts about that. I think that what Thieneman is going to do and how he helps the Dennis Allen scheme kind of all come together, it's going to be there. I think Malik Muhammad has a chance to do that as well, be a big impact player in year one for the Chicago Bears. Logan Jones, I would say this, the center that's there as well. He has a chance to take that starting center position as soon as this year. Now, could it be more like we saw with Ozzie Trapillo, where he comes along as the season goes on? They may not trust him right away. That's why they have the center Garrett Bradbury there. There's definitely a chance of that, right? He was traded for to replace Drew Dahlman, but I do think that Logan Jones is going to be another guy that has a chance to make a huge impact this season because at bare minimum, he's going to get up the backup. Now, it'll be interesting to watch how the snap count between Logan Jones and Garrett Bradbury changes as the season goes on, right? Like Logan Jones may not have a high snap count at the beginning of the season, but I wonder if it's going to stay that way by the end of the season. That's something to really watch out for because I do think that's something that we have to look out for, and that's why the Bears drafted him. And then when you look at Sam Roush and Xavier Thomas, right? These guys are all both expected to be backups, in year one. But I'll say this, like Xavier Thomas, I mentioned, he could be the slot receiver. He could be the wide receiver 3 as soon as this year. Now, they may go with Khalif Raymond as the veteran there in the same way they went with Olamide Zaccheaus at first over Luther Burden. But I would not be surprised if Xavier Thomas makes an impact in year one when it comes down to it. So we'll see, right? I think that he's at the target list. Do not be surprised if Xavier Thomas ends up with maybe the third or fourth most targets on the season as the season goes on. But don't be surprised with that. Sam Roush is going to be a guy that I think we're going to not see a lot of his rookie year. I do think 13 personnel sets. You're going to see sometimes where Colston Leveling is lined up as the slot, which is going to give Sam Roush a chance to get out there on the field as well. But I don't know how much we're going to see Roush in year one. And I already talked about Malik Muhammad. Malik Muhammad has a chance to step into this role right away. The secondary is going to be a big thing this season to see how it all works out between Coby Bryant, Thieneman, Jalen Johnson, Kyler Gordon, Tyreek Stevenson, Zay Frazier, all these guys. Like the way that rotation and the snap count for those guys gets distributed over the course of the season, it's going to be fun. Do I think that we're going to have as much rookies making an impact as last year? Maybe not. But I do think that we're going to see some big impactful rookies for the Chicago Bears this season, and it could be one that kind of turns the tide and wakes some Bears fans up to what's actually happening in this one. So if we look at it, I do think that the battles that are probably going to happen in camp, the wide receiver competition for the wide receiver 3, I think Luther and Rome are locked in as wide receiver 1 and 2 respectively. The wide receiver 3 competition is going to be there. There's going to be a competition in the defensive backfield, the secondary as well. And the questions with the defensive line are still lingering for sure, that we're going to have to see how that ends up working out. But, these are all storylines and things that we're going to be covering as the season goes on for sure. But that's going to do it for today, y'all. That's my time for today. The Bears are still adding competition. The national hype is starting to build up for the Chicago Bears as well. And the post-draft debates are not slowing down anytime soon. So I want to hear from you guys as well. Are Bears fans being too harsh on Ryan Poles while giving Ben Johnson too much of the praise or a pass? Let me know what you guys think in regards to that. And who will be the biggest impact rookie for the Chicago Bears this year? Drop your thoughts in the comment section down below. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel as well. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode or an upload. You can follow us at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bears related, but that is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but Bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.